Shalom, 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 which is to say in the Paleo Hebrew, peace, greetings, all praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, which is also to say in the Paleo Hebrew, Yahweh, which is the name of our Heavenly Father, meaning He is, Bahashem, meaning in the name, Yahweh Shai, meaning He is our salvation. And that is who the world ignorantly calls Jesus a so-called black man. Oh yeah, who, by the way, only came for the Israelites. All right? Now, what we have here is the latest from a bishop that goes by the name of T.D. Jakes, okay? And it's alleged that he is stepping down at Potter's house, okay? And they're attributing it to an incident that took place late last year, somewhere around October, November, all right? Where he had a quote-unquote medical, what do they call it? A medical emergency, all right? And here it is, months later, they haven't told exactly, or he haven't came out and said exactly what was that incident that happened all about, all right? So he's leaving it up to your imagination and for you to wonder and to think whether or not, well, is he okay? Is he all right? Was it something serious? Okay? But now, in the midst of all this Diddy talk, which we know he was close friends and even somewhat of a mentor of Diddy, he steps down from his position as being the, leader of the flock, and he hands the keys over to none other than his daughter, okay? And her husband, which is his son-in-law, all right? So let's read this article and then we get a couple of precepts and talk about it. It reads, a month after announcing that the medical emergency he suffered during a sermon late last year nearly unalived him, which it was all put on show, so he can gain and garnish sympathy for the people. He had this little episode while preaching a sermon, on TV, and it was all for the theatrics, okay? For you to believe him and set the stage for what he knew was inevitable, unavoidable, that Diddy would probably get brought up on trials and more than likely give out names, and that he, being a prominent figure in this quote-unquote Christian society, may be one of the names on the list, so he's trying to remove his name and his image and his likeness far away from that list, if his name is indeed on that list, as possible. And now when things are heating up, Diddy's on trial, this is the perfect time as a hireling to what? To remove himself from out of the spotlight, hand it to his daughter and his son-in-law, okay? So it says, a month after announcing that the medical emergency he suffered during a sermon late last year nearly unalived him, Bishop T.D. Jakes is stepping down from his position at his mega church. You see, when you got a title as prominent as bishop at a mega church, you're a hireling, okay? It says, in handing over leadership to his daughter. Where does it say that in the Bible? Okay? And son-in-law. It goes on to say, U.S. Today reported that Jakes, 67, announced that his daughter, Sarah, Jake Roberts, and son-in-law, Torrey Roberts, are taking over Potter House Church. Jakes founded the church in 1996. So now with things heating up, Diddy in the pot, he can possibly squeal like a pig and put out names that people don't, want to be directly connected with. Hey, you gotta make your escape while you can, okay? Because who knows whether or not Diddy have a what you call that guy, a Epstein moment where they found him in his cell, non-responsive. Okay, but just to save face, these hirelings, they are what they call what's the phrase? Tying up loose ends, or cutting their losses short. Okay, so he's still keeping the church with the money rolling in. You just won't see his face or his sermons or his services anymore. All right, he's gonna let a female, his daughter, and her husband take over the hymns. Okay, so this is what a hireling do, man. Okay, they don't have your best interests at heart, and the stage was already set last year with that little incident. So now he can garnish the attention or the sympathy from you that he needs. Okay. This is off of MSN US Today. It says Bishop T.D. Jakes steps down from megachurch, hands leadership to daughter and son-in-law. So this is the second source. It could hold some type of weight to it or behind it. It says Bishop T.D. Jakes announced he will be stepping down and handing leadership of the Potter House Church, a non-denominational Christian church, to his daughter and her husband. Okay, we're still kind of waiting to see exactly what was the medical emergency. All right, because you should be able to tell your congregation whether or not you had a real serious illness or what. Okay, so that they can pray over it and pray for you. All right, but you see, this is all the hallmarks of a hireling. All right, they gonna cut their losses while they still can, save face as much as they can, and ride off into the sunset. Okay, he got his daughter and his son-in-law. Okay, so let's go back. So it says he announced that his daughter Sarah Jakes Roberts and his son-in-law Tory Roberts are taking over the Potter House Church. Okay, so that's about it. Let's get a couple of precepts and then we'll close out. We won't make it that long. This is St. John chapter 10 and verse 12. It reads, "But he that is an hireling, and not the shepherd, whose own the sheep are not, seeth the wolf coming, and leaveth the sheep." See? So he see the hammer coming down on Diddy, and he see that Diddy might, crack under pressure and give up names. And if his name is on that list, he don't want to be nowhere near this when it all goes down. All right, so to save face, he's cutting his losses short, okay, and handing the keys over to who? His daughter, who probably have everything in her name or her husband's name, where he can't lose, important, assets such as that mega church, okay, because now the transition of power has been given over to the daughter. Now, if they come back and want to sue him for whatever it is they got, he's already handed all his things over, all his assets, his property and everything over to his daughter and son-in-law. All right. Never mind the congregation, okay, and feeding them. He's handing the keys over to his daughter-in-law. All right. See, this is why you have to be called, man. You don't just get, chosen by some man. No, the Most High has to call you. Okay. Let's get that. What is that? St. John. Is that St. John or St. Matthew? Let's see. Matthew. This is Matthew 22. St. Matthew 22 and 14 said, "For many are called, but few are chosen." And you have to be chosen to lead a congregation, to lead the flock. All right? You don't just get the keys handed down to you from somebody else just because they, were quote unquote called to the ministry. No, the Most High has to choose you. You don't choose the Most High. All right? So that lets you know that these damn mega churches is just all about the money, man. All right? And you simple as 2/3 along with you other heathens, you just get bamboozled week in and week out, man. All right. You have to be chosen for this. The Most High has to pick you. All right. You don't just get the keys handed down to you. All right. See, and this is what these so-called churches, they do. They just give you a degree, which is nothing but a piece of paper, tell you can preach this doctrine, and then you all of a sudden are ordained by them. Okay. So it's nothing different, all right? She wasn't chosen by the Most High to lead a congregation filled with man or mixed with man, because we know a woman isn't supposed to be over a man, okay? And you see how they put her name first, followed by his son-in-law, all right? So you know all the decisions is going through her, because why? That's his daughter, okay? It ain't going to be the husband, which we know the husband's supposed to be over the wife. All right, now it's going to go through her, okay? Because he's moving all his assets through her to her, so that when shit hits the fan, it'll be protected. His church, his whatever else he got that's tied to it. All right, it's going to be all to her, Sarah Roberts Jakes, okay? And she don't even got her husband's last name, okay? So, for many are called, but few are chosen, all right? So you have to be called to this thing, and the Most High just doesn't pick any old quote unquote ordained priest or pastor. No, you have to be chosen. He has to know you from. See, he sanctify you from the womb, man. All right. Jeremiah 1:5. Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. Okay, he knew who he was going to call to be a prophet, a servant, to minister this word. And it ain't no damn woman, man. All right, showing you that this is all about business, okay? This is a business move on the behalf of the hireling, Bishop T.D. Jakes, okay? It says, before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. And before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee. For many are called, but few are chosen, okay? You have to be chosen. You have to be sanctified. The Lord has to deal with you. He has to call you to this. All right. You don't call the Lord. The Lord calls you. It says, and before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. Not a prophetess, a prophet unto the nation. The pastor of my flock are men. It ain't no woman, man. A woman is not supposed to be in the role of leadership. Okay? It's going off. All right? This is how you know this is a power move. Okay? T.D. Jakes or Snakes is putting provisions in place, so in case this Diddy trial goes south in a quick, he'll have all this shit transferred over to his daughter. All right? So let's go back to Matthew or John chapter 10 and touch up on that hireling, okay? Because he ain't going to tell you what the mark of the beast is. He ain't going to emphasize the importance of not taking that microchip. You see, he's trying to get all his assets secure before everything hits the fan. That's what that whole little incident was about, you know. He saw when Diddy got indicted, hey, I got to put on an act. That's what a hireling does, man. They're hired just for that particular reason. He put on that act, garnish your sympathy. A few months later, now he's stepping down. And you'll think nothing about it, because why? He put the theatrics, the optics to match what he's now saying that happened, which was an emergency medical, but we don't know. There's no records or anything that you can verify that, okay? But see, he gonna pull your strings and play on your emotions, you know. That's what a excellent hireling does, all right? So St. John 10 and verse 12, it says, but he that is a hireling and not the shepherd, whose own the sheep are not, seeth the wolf coming and leaveth the sheep, and fleeth, and the wolf catcheth them, and scattereth the sheep. The hireling fleeth, because he is an hireling, and careth not for the sheep. Right? He don't care about his congregation, that megachurch. He's already sucked you people dry, man. All right, since 1996, since 1996. Okay, you see. So who knows what Diddy gonna do, and if he got what you call that? Not affidavits, but if he got any type of uh insight or dirt on Bishop T.D. Jakes that he can give up to get a lesser prison sentence, man. All right. So it says the hireling fleeth because he is a hireling and careth not for the sheep. Let's look up that word hireling. So that word for hireling is mestotas, and it goes into one hired, a hireling, okay? So they just in it for the money, man. They could care less about your well-being, all right? So it says the hireling fleeth because he is a hireling and careth not for the sheep, okay? Verse 14, I am the good shepherd, this is Yahweh Shai, and know my sheep, and am known of mine. As the Father knoweth me, even so now I the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. See, this damn harlot, he could care less about your life, man. He's trying to save face for his, okay? T.D. Jakes don't care nothing about his congregation, man, except for getting that money, all right? And securing his bag and his life, all right? He got to make the best move for him is to what? Give the keys or the reins over to his daughter and fall back into the sunset, okay? So he's making this move. He's stepping down, allegedly because of that incident that took place back in late last year. That emergency medical is catching up with him. He doesn't feel adequate enough to continue to minister, so now he's giving the keys or the reins over to his daughter and son-in-law, and now you won't see him on TV probably as much or not at all anymore, okay? So this is that hireling, man. Okay, so let's go to 1 Peter 5 and 8. This is 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 8. It reads, be sober, be vigilant. Why? Because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. All right, so this is what the hireling does, man. Okay, things are going good. He gonna preach you a world-friendly doctrine. He gonna get your money. He gonna take everything he can out of you. And then as soon as, the first sign of him being exposed could be presented, he's gonna do what? Get up out of there. That's why it's a fly-by-night operation, man. All right? He had it for more than how many years? 96, 06, 16, 26, damn near 30 years, man. Okay? 30 years. All right? Who knows if he started off with the intentions of having a sincere ministry and got, compromised. Or who knows if this was his plan all along from the beginning. All right? The point is that we here now, and guess what? Hey, more than likely, there's nothing wrong with this man. Okay? More than likely, he knows what's on the wall, and he know that he partake in a lot of that Diddy shit, and that come out could, pretty much stain his image, okay? So now he's going to be hard to find. You ain't going to see him as much as you used to, because under this medical emergency, he may not be making these appearances like he once did before, all right? So we shall see, okay? We shall see how this saga plays out. This Diddy, T.D. Jakes, emergency medical, all right? So be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour, all right? So with that being said, pray someone was edified through this lesson. And until the next time, if it be the Lord's will, stay strong, stay in the faith. We almost home. Shalom. Peace.